Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This week, we'll talk about the new mortgage rules. Stick with us until the end. You don't want to miss this. Christopher, starting on December 15th this year, Canada's mortgage cap rises to $1.5 million, the insured mortgage cap, with first-time buyers allowed 30 years amortizations on all types of constructions. These rules aim to increase affordability, but concerns about rising prices. And more buyers will be allowed to take out an insured mortgage with a 30 years amortization on a pre-construction home. That means that even if a person is not a first-time buyer, but they buy a new home, they can do that. Mm-hmm. That includes investors and people who are speculated on price. So, as new policies may spur demand, they don't address housing supply issues. My question to you, Chris, is what do you think will really happen on December 15th?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting for sure. Real quick, the investors on the 30-year amortization for the new construction, apparently the government went in and corrected themselves on that as well. The Globe and Mail had written a big piece where they had confirmed the original, and then they went back and recanted themselves. So much like is kind of typical with our government, they say one thing, they pull back, they do a bit of another down the road. You're an interesting group for doing that, I'll tell you.
Exactly. The usual stuff.
Yeah, they're an interesting bunch to be sure. Well, and you know where that leads for home buying and affordability, I think it kind of remains to be seen. I think we do have a change in government that's going to be coming up, so who knows, what rules get put into effect now that actually stay. But in the short term, and just assuming that it does stay, I think these are good changes. I think both of these major changes are going to be good ones, particularly the 30-year. The first-time buyers, lowering their monthly payments, spreading it over a bit more time. I don't think that's a bad thing to get yourself into the market. You will end up paying a bit more interest over time. So I don't think that's going to be, something you want to stick in forever, but I don't think it's a bad idea right off the start. And whatever they're doing to try and stimulate new construction, which I think is the other big thing with that policy, is going to be interesting to see what happens with it. New construction's got a lot going for it and a lot going against it right now. So it's an interesting time for that field.
Was it you or I watched the video on YouTube that it says in Calgary there's a lot of new construction that it stopped because let's say a single home that sells for like $800,000 or $900,000, the same property is available for maybe $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 less. A property that it's only 1 year old in the same neighborhood, built by the same builder. I think it's on a YouTube channel that I heard this last week, and I wanted to see if that's true. The guy is also a real estate broker, and he was talking about the prices are probably coming down because this is happening in Calgary.
Yeah, we're starting to see a ton of that. Ironically, about an hour before I came on here with you, I got a call from a person out of Toronto. Wanted to know if I was a realtor. Wanted to know if I can help them. They'd heard a lot about the condo situations here for rental properties, for revenue generating. Pre-construction is being touted in Ontario, Toronto particularly, like mad, particularly from a few particular construction companies, developers that are putting up some pretty interesting marketing ploys in order to sell their properties for largely over fair market value. Yeah. We are just starting to see that come into effect now, where they're starting to come into fruition, into development. And people are either taking them over and they're managing to, and that's a whole other story with the banks and getting these things appraised. or they're not. They're trying to do them as an assignment sale. But I saw 3 come up yesterday. New construction homes. They're still being constructed that are now being set out as assignment sales, and they were well over $1,000 a square foot. Well, actually, I got to share this with you.
Yep.
Okay, I got to share this with you. So pulled this up yesterday. One of the units, 415 square feet, $480,000.
But that's higher than than Montreal for sure. But I don't know if Toronto now. We're competing with Toronto now.
It's ridiculous. Like, honestly, it's ridiculous. Well, and the interesting part too, in the marketing materials, they had shared the original developer builder spec sheets. So keep in mind, I just said, I believe it was 415 square feet. In the developer spec sheets, it's 519. That's a 25% increase over the size, by our measurements, which don't match up. And on a smaller unit, it'll show more because size of a wall is the size of a wall, basically. But yeah, there's a lot that is coming to fruition that is not going to be able to be closed on. The banks are, from what I can see, pushing through some of it because they've lent for the builders as well as for the buyers. So they're kind of stuck on both sides of it. So they're starting to see a few things go through. But I read a report that there are over 200 insolvent condo developments in Ontario right now. I believe it was Ontario. I might be mistaken. It might be throughout Canada. Not 100% sure, but it's up massively where these developments have started, but rising costs and everything, they can't fulfill. A little bit like 05 when we ended up with holes in the ground. It's dug, but no construction's going on. You got to fill that hole somehow.
Yeah, I remember now. He was giving the example of speculation from BC and Toronto. Investors are coming here for the past 2-3 years, buying everything, and now they realize it's way above fair market value. And the people now they don't want to buy, they don't want to rent that. And there are people that are renting a condo in a building, and the same type of condo on a different floor. Now it shows maybe $400-$600 less a month. So the people who are finishing their lease, they're just waiting and they're changing units instead of renewing the one that they have right now.
Yeah. So much stuff has been done in the kind of flurried craziness. And it's really easy to think you're doing really well in something because you can actually lock it down. But I don't know, some of the things that are going on now, and particularly have been, it's quieted down a little bit. There's going to be some prices to pay from somebody. And just hopefully that's not in mortgage delinquencies. Because, that's a whole other topic. Maybe we'll get into later today. I don't know, but we've got a lot of mortgages coming up.
Yep. And this is the article that I was talking about at the beginning.
I might still be going, but you're stuck there, Dragos.
So, and it says that Ottawa to expand the 30 to 30-year amortization raise insurance mortgage cap. That's the article that we was talking about. And which the proposals were called by an expert some of the most significant mortgage policies reforms that we have seen in many years. And when I see those type of affirmations, and especially from the federal government, I got a feeling that this is a bailout for the banks, for the things to come. That's what really is. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. What do you think about it?
When you couple these with the interest rate changes that have been The way it's been planned, these slow, small, incremental changes. Now they're talking about doing these very large changes. They need to do two things, and it's largely done with the interest rates. They need to stimulate the economy, keep us out of a recession, or keep us, from going further into a recession, I guess is probably a little bit more accurate. And they got to deal with these mortgage delinquencies that are going to be coming up, because I'm sure we're going to be seeing a raft of them. I read a report. It was actually a government report. I've got it right here. The OSFI. I don't even know what that stands for. It's a financial institute discovery corporation by the government. But anyway, it says they run a top 24, 25 risks. And the number one is real estate secured lending and mortgage risks. Of the mortgages outstanding as of February 2024, 76% will be coming up for renewal by the end of 2026. If you think of an average 3 to 5 year renewal rate, amortization rate, like the time, that puts us around largely 2021, 2022 purchases. And in 2020, things got real bad and nothing moved. And then 2021, it went nuts and everybody started buying, and interest rates were super low and things were kind of a little bit nutty in the marketplace, and people were buying cottage properties and multiple properties, and they were working from home. So now they're moving into bigger homes because they're spending so much time at home. Divorces were happening because they realized they didn't like their spouses quite as much. Now they're spending time with them. So now they're selling one and buying two. All of these things ended up in these mortgages that at low interest rates that are going to be coming due largely in the next year and a half or so. Like 3/4 of the mortgages. The government has to do some things to see some changes going on here. So these 30-year mortgage rates and getting people to buy again now kind of leans into it. Some of the decreases that we're seeing, I think those are going to be largely a salvage our housing market kind of thing, and the banks as well, and also CMHC and the other insurance goes along with it. So it's a tangled web they weave.
Yeah. I believe that's the point. And when people are asked how will Canada's new mortgage rules will affect your plans to buy a home, people can go see on the Globe and Mail this article. But what I found is that not many young would be able to afford a mortgage of $1 million range. So even if they increase the mortgage to 30 years, which is you pay so much more in interest, I would never do that. And in my opinion, it's a bailout for banks. You will not address the housing shortage issue. Okay. Plus, what they say is this will allow renters, to get into the market. That's what they say, the government. But when people have rents so high that a lot of people, they can't afford anything else than the rent, the gas, the car, the food, and some clothes, and sending the kids to school. I want to see go over this right now. It's the rent inflation. So we see that the rent increased every month by an average of 8%.
Yeah.
Which is huge. So this is a feel-good article, let's say, like the way they put it. It's on Trading Economics that I watch every day for trading. And it says the rent inflation in Canada decreased to 8.8 from 8.9% in May. That's really high.
Yeah.
That's extremely high. How do you see it on the market? Do you see people coming to you and say, you know what, Chris, I heard now that I can buy a home, 30 years mortgage. I will pay less because I don't have a high rent and I have a little bit of down payment. Do you hear that, or you mostly hear that the rent is so high, everything is so high? When can I buy a home?
Yeah. Well, and I think that has largely been driving the lower part of our market here in Calgary anyway. Edmonton, I'm sure, has been exactly the same. I don't know about the rest of the parts of the country, but yeah, I mean, if you can't afford to rent, you might as well go in and buy. And I think enough people now are just like so sick and tired of these increasing rents, that they're just being pushed into it. So if they can do it, fantastic, and good for them. At the end of the day, good for them, because really that is really and honestly, I feel the best way to get yourself into the better financial position over the long haul. Your rents will continue to increase, but so will your resale value, over time, with the bumps and everything else. So, largely you're going to be ahead for it. I think where the government isn't necessarily taking this to the best thing, though, is they need to do more to help people save for the down payments.
Yeah.
Assist them in what ways are possible, or maybe discourage them a little bit from spending quite so much, but that doesn't affect the one thing that does come up, with your housing. If your mortgage payment goes up by double because interest rates, and they've gone up by double, and they're about to be doubled for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But if your mortgage payments are going up by double, because they're trying to make your car payments go up by double, so you don't go buy,
exactly
new luxury things.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes it tough. Like there's certain things that should be more expensive to have, so you're less likely to do it. And there's certain things that shouldn't. So
yeah, that's a point that I believe also, that it's done on purpose to bring everything so expensive, cars, everything, so that we don't buy them. We stop over consuming. Climate change, gas prices, all that, it's linked. And the way they do it, it's overtaxing. It's a tax and spend government, increasing the government size, and that's a whole nother subject. But in my opinion, and not only my opinion, many more, if not 80-90% of people, that's a opportunity problem. It's overtaxing. People are overtaxed. A lot of people don't have any money left at the end of the month. And I want to show you this, Chris, with see on better dwelling. Canada saw the share of households struggling to make ends meet jump 50%. This goes hand in hand of what we're talking about. Canadian homeowners saw financial stability erode the fastest. Canadian renters are most likely to struggle with finances. See, nearly 2 in 5, so 40% of renters struggle to make ends meet in 2022. That's 2022. In 2022, I thought was still good as life.
We're just starting to see our increases happen then.
This is nearly a third of Canadian households struggling to make ends meet. In Canada, we're not talking about Romania or Cuba or something. This is Canada. This is Canada today. Mm-hmm. And even closer to you. So some Calgarians living in RVs as they wait for affordable housing. So people believe in a short or average period of time, the prices of rent and homes will go down. Do you believe that will happen? Do you believe they are right to wait until there's more affordable housing?
Yeah, well, and I think we've started to see some of that happening here already. It's a bit more of a tempered pace to everything. We're starting to see a little bit more inventory creep up for, both housing for sale and rentals. We're starting to see a little less migration coming in, a
Yep.
little less of that fevered pitch. So yeah, I definitely, I do agree. Over the short term, we're probably going to see a bit of a relaxation on that. Longer term, I mean, who knows? Where that's all going to go. There's just so many cogs in this wheel that affect things. It's really tough to tell. I do think waiting a little bit of a shorter term for some of this stuff is going to be good, though. Waiting a long term, I don't know. It's a little bit smarter to be going in and just kind of make several plans.
Yeah.
What if the interest rates do drop suddenly and drastically? Because when they were calling for, small quarter percentage decreases, varied over time after time after time, like spanning time so that nothing happened drastically. Well, now they're looking at probably 0.5% coming up on the next drop in October. I want to say it's October 4th, October at some point here, which would follow the American drop of 0.5%.
Yeah.
They're talking about by the end of 2025 being down another 1.5 or so. That's a big drop from where we are now. That's a lot more money in your pocket when you're looking at your monthly mortgage payments. It's keeping a lot more. It's also the affordability. It's the ability to buy a lot more home as well. So waiting for some of that stuff, I don't think is going to be a bad idea. Or buying now, but talking to your financial advisor, your mortgage broker, so that you're able to flip it out to that something more affordable if the right property comes up. Because in the meantime, everybody's got to live.
Yeah.
Like we all need a place to live. And unfortunately, all too often, sometimes that's in a van over the last number of years. And we've just been hearing that story way too much. We never had tent cities in Calgary before. That's a new thing for us. But we've got them here in Calgary now. And it's been happening a lot more often than we like to see. It's sad, is what it is.
Yeah.
But hopefully there is some relief coming down the pipe for buyers and renters alike. I don't know if it's going to happen, though, with all the taxation that's happening to investors as well. They're going to make money at the end of the day, too, or they're not going to buy places to rent out to somebody. And the way to pay for that is to increase the rents.
Yeah. And we talked about this. Some of the rents are coming down. And especially the high end, that's what I heard people saying is also in Alberta. They're coming down a little bit, and the prices. I want to show you this. The prices of Canadian homes are right now at the same levels at 2021 as in 2021. So there is a definitely trend downwards. Rents a little bit and homes a little bit.
Yeah. Or at the very least, a stabilization.
A stabilization, yes, or correction, or whatever word you can use. Yes, it's I believe stabilization, it's a better word. Do you feel that in your market, that the houses are stabilizing the prices?
Yeah. Well, it's ironically, I was on Facebook yesterday. Don't go on there a lot anymore. But I was on a couple of the private realtor groups, and somebody put out the question. I've got crickets out there on my listings. We're not seeing anything happening. We got no visitors. Is everybody else seeing that too? And there was an awful lot of, we're not getting anything. We're not moving. I've got a couple listings right now too that are just, they're kind of sitting pretty quiet. But there was also the other guys that were saying the exact opposite. Just launched one this weekend, got 4 offers. So we're still seeing multiple offers. And it seems like we've almost got like a tale of two cities going on in our market with some of this stuff. So we've got, the high and the lows. I don't know if that just comes from the craziness that we were at before, and some people really kind of holding on and wishing that was still true, like we tend to see historically coming off really high markets, where some people get in too late and want to hold it too high, and others are coming in lower and selling right away. But we're definitely seeing more inventory. We're not seeing everything jump out right away. One of the sales that I had just done, they were going to be moving out, and their brother just had, because their mortgage payments were doubling. Once again, literally doubling because they were coming up for their renewals. So they were going out to rentals, and I'm like, you guys got to find that rental first. Like, you absolutely have to find the rental first. You got a newborn baby, you're gonna be homeless. They found rentals, no problem. Decent, good spots, decent rates too. That was a big, massive surprise to me. So we definitely seem to be seeing that tale of two cities, where we definitely see the lack of and overpriced and too expensive, and we're also seeing the other side, right in the same market. So I don't even know what to say on it anymore. It's like we've just got barely no middle ground. We got the two sides, and then on the charts it's right in the middle, because I guess they both balance each other out. I don't know if you're seeing that in Edmonton as well, or if you're noticing it kind of across some of the rest of the country with some of the other folks you've been seeing. But we're a different market here. We're a strange one.
Yeah, Quebec, Montreal is also slowing a little bit, but still going strong. Here in Edmonton, I don't have a license, so I know a guy, but it's been a few weeks that I didn't talk to him. What I see though is, because I'm looking at the rentals in the past years here in Alberta and Edmonton, the rents were very low last year in April 23, like $1,400 for 2 bedrooms, brand new, everything included, but electricity and internet, which it was, I couldn't believe it. And the same condos are $1,845 now, like in the beginning of the year, and now I see them at $1,625. So you see, between 14 and 18, there's like 16. So I believe the highest high is behind us. That's my feeling here. Maybe it's not true. The future will tell us, but this is my feeling. Yes. Yeah. I believe there's a stabilization, like you said. Yeah.
Shorter long haul.
Yeah.
We might see some continued increases over the next bit, but we just seem to have more moderation going.
Yeah.
The level heads have prevailed. That seems to be kind of going on right now as well. So yeah, I do see a little bit of cooling of the market in both sectors right now as well. And it wasn't all that long ago that some of the developers and builders were marketing downtown condos with rental guarantees of $2,800 a month for a 650 square foot condo.
Is it concrete at least?
Yeah. Yeah, you better be gold for that price, I'll tell you.
Concrete and gold. Yeah, they have to advertise that. Concrete and gold.
Yeah, but we do seem to be seeing some of this normalization come back down. Get your heads out of the clouds, and things will balance out. And I definitely think that is where we're at in the marketplace. And most everybody's been pleading for that for a while too. Just a little more normalization.
Yeah. And speaking of interest rates and normalization, as you probably know, for a long time, the variable rate was lower than the fixed rate. That was the selling point of the mortgage brokers for as long as I remember,
Yeah, historically, it's go variable if you can take the risk, of your payments going up or down. That's the way to go.
Yeah,
typically over time.
Typically, it's true. Typically, that's what it was. So obviously, COVID changed that. It was the same. After that, when people started, in 2021, to buy again, went up. So the fixed mortgage rate was again higher than the variable, like we used to.
Mm-hmm.
But here, at the end of 2022, that's exactly 2 years ago, the role have changed. So right now, the fixed mortgage rate is lower than the variable mortgage rate. And it's a trend that continues, see, for the past 2 years. It's almost the same difference.
Yeah.
It's about 1.5 point, from 1 to 1.5 point of difference. And I would like to know, before going to the bond rate, in the past 2 years, how many people, how many clients of yours, if you know, percentage-wise, bought variable, and how many bought fixed rate?
Yeah. Well, and for the last so my wife's a mortgage broker, so I get a little bit of intel on this.
Nice.
And she would absolutely ravage down on me for saying any of this, because I've probably got it slightly wrong. But for the past few years, people have known that the rates will end up decreasing. I think all the mortgage brokers have been in agreement with that. So the variables have just not been a popular product for the last number of years. The longer term, the 5-year plus, not been nearly as popular either. Most people have been doing that 2 to 3 year fixed rate mortgages, really banking, and hopefully they're right, on the mortgage rates going down. Past 2026, I think we'll start to see variables coming back into play again. I really do. And correct me if I'm wrong in this, because you probably even know better than I do, is variables are more closely tied to bond rates.
Exactly. We're going to talk about it. Exactly.
Yeah. And so the bond rates then are tied to investments, right? So
exactly.
When your variables go down and your bond rates go down and your variables go down.
Yep.
Well, then so do the investments, and so less people are investing in that. So you really got to kind of watch that as well. The government has to watch that as well. How we play to the states, because where are the investors going? Is it our investment dollars staying in Canada, or are they going to the states? So if we get too big of a disparity between ours and theirs.
Exactly. That's a big subject. We're going to do one. We're going to do like a whole podcast on it. I don't even start. In the past 10 years, in the past 10 years, before, a lot of American money, it was coming to Canada. Okay.
No.
Like,
yes.
We had a deficit. I have to do my research, but there was more people investing in Canada than Canadians in the US. Right now, if I have to do the research, but a few days ago, I heard an expert saying it's around. Let's do the research, but that's what I heard and what I remember. $400 billion a year of deficit. So Canadian invest $400 billion more a year in the United States. That's a shame. Like a small, it is a small country as a population. Canada invests. It's too bad. That's a big issue also. And in 2026, 2025, and 2026, the mortgages will come up. That's also one of the reasons that the variable will come back after 2026.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, and I definitely, I shouldn't say that. I definitely think it will, but with, as the statements we're just making about being so closely tied to the states, they sneeze, we get the cold.
Mm-hmm.
They're heading in the right direction to keep us going in the right direction as well. We've been leading a lot of this with our price decrease or interest rate decreases over the last little bit, but they made a big move there with that 0.5 point drop over the last little bit. They keep it up, we can keep it up. If they don't, for whatever reason, and I don't foresee that will be the case. It doesn't sound like the pundits are saying that won't be the case. But if they don't, then suddenly we don't have quite that leverage to do our drops either. Otherwise, we start to lose more and more investment dollars to the states. So I'm hopeful, but I'm cautiously hopeful. I do think it will happen at the end. I do think we're going to be looking at, some pretty decent rate drops. Prime's at, I think, or the bank account rate is, I think, is at like 4.25 right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're hoping to get it down to like 2.25, 2.5. I think that's pretty likely. I don't think we're going to go any lower than that, but we start seeing those rates again. People's monthly mortgage payments are going to be going down.
But also that
less people forced into foreclosures.
Exactly. That's the point. Yeah. And inflation, it's a, let's see what inflation, because inflation, it's a problem. And we talked about it. We'll have another podcast alone on Canadian productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also a big challenge. The GDP, it's close to nothing. When the American GDP came out today, it's at 3%. So you understand, okay?
Yeah,
so we have stagnation, right? Stagnation in the economy growth, and inflation if we bring the rates down too quickly. So that can become a stagflation, which is really bad. It's really bad it's more a depression than a recession. And think talking about that, I want to show you this, and then I'll let you respond. So as you probably know, this is the 10 2 years Canada bond yield spread. It's almost the same in the States as a principle, not as numbers. So when this inverts, it's a big indicator we are in a recession, or a recession is coming. So most experts were calling a recession for the past 2 years and something,
Mm-hmm.
And they were right to call the recession, but the recession, maybe we are in one, maybe it's not here. We don't hear that much of people losing their job in droves, like tens of thousands of people losing their jobs this month, and to make it a little bit also more complicated to call, now the rate is positive again. So I just want to have your opinion. Do you believe that we are out of a recession, or is just like everything else in the pandemic, it's weird and a recession might come?
Well, that's kind of been my statements from day one, for sure. Well, and you know what? I don't know enough about economics, macro, micro, to be able to really comment on it, other than personal feeling. Feels like we're still very much in a recession.
Yeah.
It still feels like we're not quite edging our way out of it yet. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but I don't think we're there yet. Like the whole things like the unemployment rates and the productivity and stuff that you're talking about, we don't have enough people to fulfill the roles that we need here, even just for the housing crisis, because of the shortage of housing, in order to get things. So, I mean, if people want to work here, I think there are opportunities, but the cost of living is so high in all aspects. God, I mean, you buy a potato for $15 now. Bit of an exaggeration, but hey, if it's a cooked potato, you probably are paying $15. So,
or
are we in a recession?
Like in aluminum foil, they put it in aluminum foil and they sell it to you for $15. Oh, I saw a big tomahawk steak in Quebec. You can look it up on YouTube, or because there's, in the past week there was something about this, because one tomahawk steak is $84 and $85 in Quebec. You understand? Like each.
Yeah.
And it is big, but it's not like a, my parents bought a car in 96 for $100.
Yeah.
And they had the car for like 2 years with no repairs. It was funny.
So Dragos, what do you want, buddy? Do you want a car or do you want a steak? Because you can have one but not the other.
Exactly. Exactly.
It is literally just absolutely insane how much things have gone up in such a short period of time. From so many causes, but how they manage to ever get that under control, I don't know.
I believe one of the solutions is cut taxes, stop the spending and the money printing, bring down the size of government, and focus on offering opportunities to people, not woke stuff, and everything will be okay, and logos and
There's definitely a lot of everything will be okay.
Yeah, I
Build a
know.
road and people will be happy. They'll spend more money, and
Yeah.
that drives the economy. It just doesn't work.
It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And we will see that. We will see that. And I believe, I hope there's a change before something really big happens. Because anyway, I don't want to go there, but there's a lot of danger when people don't see hope in the future. Okay. Yeah. And if we continue like this to squeeze people and push them, and if they complain, we laugh at them, or we gaslight them. Mm. That's a recipe for disaster. And let's hope there's change soon. And we are at the bottom, and the only place we can go is up. Let's hope that's what it is.
Yeah, I guess it just remains to be seen. It just remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Whoever stays in, whoever that is, whatever party it is, wherever they gotta stand up and pay a little bit more attention and stop being so reactionary and put some solid plans together. They really do. And I'm a good. I can't remember the name. The coach quarterback. I can yell at the TV a fair bit that they're doing it wrong. I wouldn't do any better, but people that we put in there are supposed to be.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's one of my points. For us talking about it and all that, sometimes it's even if we do a podcast and that, okay, but what you gonna do about it? Okay, it's okay. It's a podcast, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm not a politician with the power in my hands to do something. Okay.
No.
That's the difference. That's the difference. Yeah.
Well, and hopefully those changes do happen soon when somebody comes in who actually isn't just spouting off about everything, but actually does have some good, solid financial strategies for this.
Oh yeah. It's simple again. Stop the money printing. Focus on opportunities, which is jobs. Okay. In other words, good jobs, good paying jobs. Stop taxing people with everything. And, let's get together. Not division, but unity. Love, hope. Pray. Yeah.
That could be a book.
Huh?
I said that could be a book, Dragos.
Exactly, yeah. And Chris, let's finish on a story from Montreal. So from my hometown of Montreal, there was a woman, a 63 years old woman, who was assaulted, and this is not the first time, but this is like it's been a week now, and a lot of people are talking about it. Maybe they will do something about it. Maybe they will start to pay attention to crime, high crime. Mm. So there's a guy, a 21 years old man, who posed as a fake buyer. So you understand?
Yeah.
And seriously assaulted a real estate broker during a recent showing in Montreal. And I read the article in French. So that's on Saint Denis Street, which is a very, very high volume street. And there's a lot of people all the time on that street. And the other thing is that the person that was supposed to visit called in sick. And this lady was a colleague of her who took her spot.
Right.
So this guy here assaulted that woman, 63 years old woman, which is, as you probably know, scared now to go outside. And
Well, imagine.
why I want to talk about this is, do you think that the pressure that the people have with their money, their health, their social environment, their professional, their job, do you think that all this pressure coming in from like what I just said, do you think that that is a factor that can push people to do those type of horrible things?
Yeah, you got to wonder where desperation comes from.
Yeah. You must be
like,
desperate
honestly,
to do that.
On the same token, though, how much stuff have you seen? Risk of getting into something we don't want to here, but how much stuff have you seen over the last, like, since the pandemic started, that has just brought out craziness?
Oh yeah, it's true. It's true. Your point is so true.
Like, things that were not even close to acceptable have become commonplace.
It's true. It's true what you're saying. In Montreal, I saw in Montreal Metro a few weeks ago, a guy was walking with knives, and he was just playing with them. Big knives, like machetes, sort of. And it was playing with them like this, like a circus man. And walking in the metro, and people like stayed there. They didn't run. It's what happened to us?
Yeah. Seriously. Seriously. Yeah. I heard one of my neighbors here has a friend who, guy walked by his car with a bat. He was waiting in the Tim Hortons lineup. Guy walked by his car with a bat. Didn't think much of it. Bang. Wondering what that was. It was with his daughter. The guy just blew out his light for absolutely no reason. So he went taking after him, in which he got assaulted by two other women who were defending the guy with the bat. Because why are they going against him? I don't know. It's just weird stuff going on all over the place. And it almost kind of makes the stuff that used to be weird seem like just kind of normal everyday things, from conspiracy theories to just crazy assaults to, I don't know, it's just all kind of all over. But it does make it kind of rough to be in, particularly in an industry like this, where you're meeting complete strangers off the street who have just dialed you in off the internet, who don't want to provide any information on who they actually are until you're meeting them in person. And this sort of stuff we're hearing about more and more. And unfortunately, we're hearing about it with more and more older that it's happening to as well, from younger and younger.
Exactly. That's when I saw 63, that woman probably wasn't provoking nothing, didn't answer nothing, didn't make like weird eye contact or whatever the psychologist would say, well, you provoked it. I don't think so. Probably she was not dressed as a person who was going to the clubs, that it's not the way to treat a person, to judge them on their the way they dress. But my point is, this is a person who was not provoking anything. That's my point. Let's put it that way. Okay, was not provoking anything, and that happened. And there's also a person in Toronto who was stabbed because he was defending two women. You understand, in the Toronto Metro, was stabbed. He was defending two women, and when he went to the hospital, the nurses told him that it was his fault. He shouldn't do this because the other guy was a homeless guy, and that's what they do. They stop people. So that's what we are. We can't even help other people There's a lot of stories like this. So in your experience, did something like this happened for a real estate broker or for someone close to you?
Yeah. So I have to say, and considering that we largely do a lot of our business based on internet inquiries, I'm, knock on wood, I'm very thankful that hasn't happened within our region. But we do hear of these things having happened a lot. And that particular topic, I would say, enters our specific real estate board, probably once a month. To be careful out there with these are some of the measures that you can take to help guard yourself against it. It's going to be there. It's always going to be there. Unfortunately, but it's yeah. I don't even know what to say to it. Honestly, it's just it's a crying shame that somebody would do that to another human being. Period.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
So
and that's why I'm standing on the camera, because nobody can get at me.
What did you say?
So that's why I'll stay here behind the camera. Nobody can get at me.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. In an ivory tower.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm at the 18th floor in Edmonton, overseeing the River Valley, a brand new building, and doing podcasts.
Yeah,
and trading. But we walk a lot. And we walk around here a lot. And during summer, you walk around 11 or 12 because here in Alberta, the sun is up until 11. I couldn't believe it. I had sunglasses at like 10:40, 40 something, not 11, but 10:40 something. Sunglasses because of the sun. It was amazing.
Yeah. I got to say, we're pretty spoiled here with those long days. But
yeah. Yeah, it's the best.
But for those of you that don't know, it is the fall and it is coming to a close daily. The leaves have changed multiple times over the last few days. Yeah. So we're coming into our long, cold winters.
Yeah. Chris, we did everything we said we're going to do today. Is there anything that you would like to add about the subject that we discussed today?
Just, Dragos, that it's always a pleasure chatting with you, and that I hope we're both on the right side and that these rates come down and we start seeing a little bit more affordability coming in, start seeing a few more people being able to afford the homes that they love, and that our economy just kind of ticks up and up from here as well. We got the fingers crossed.
Exactly. I sure hope so for everyone. And it's the same here, Chris. I really appreciate doing this podcast with you. It's amazing. And we would like to thank you, everyone, for your attention and your listening. And we will see each other next week. Have a great day.
Till then, everybody.